Today I'm reflecting upon the tragic murder of Ashling Murphy in County Offaly in Ireland. Ashling Murphy was a wonderful human being. She was a teacher, she was into sport, she was a musician. She had come home from her day's work and she was going for a run along the canal walk near where she lives. It was approximately 3:30, 4 o'clock of the day in the broad daylight. Not that that should make any difference. And she was murdered. Her body was found. It has absolutely rocked the core of the Irish people, and rightly so. And the positive side of this, not that I feel like there's any positives, but what good has come out of this. And it's disgraceful that it takes a woman's life to be taken from her, to be stolen, for us to actually address this blight on Irish society, this issue in all societies of women not being safe. Now, I know men and women face safety issues when it comes to the outside world, but as a woman who has experienced sexual violence, and as the numbers increase of Irish women's lives being stolen from them, from sometimes their husbands, their partners or ex-boyfriends. In this case, as we don't quite know yet, but as far as the Gardaí are concerned, I don't think her killer was known to her. Finally, there is a conversation happening about this extreme issue of women's freedom. There was a piece of political footage that I happened to stumble across of Mary Lou from the Sinn Féin party discussing how somebody had said every woman in Ireland now needs to carry a pepper spray, and she said they missed the point, because why should we have to carry pepper spray? That's like treating the symptoms instead of actually getting to the root and cause of this rotten issue. It is disgraceful that as a woman, there are certain times and certain places most of the time, to be honest, do not feel safe in the outside world. And that is crazy. Every time you're on your own, you're thinking ahead and you're hyper vigilant and you're hyper aware of who's around you in your environment, especially at night, especially if you're walking down a lane on your own that you have to walk down. I regularly jog along the canal. When I'm in Dublin, I jog along the canal. That could have been me. And I know that many people who use the canal have been saying this. In fact, I went for a jog along the canal this morning and somebody had put up a sign and it said that, rest in peace, Ashling Murphy. There was some lovely messages to the memory and soul of Ashling, which really moved me. Like, I actually felt choked up in my throat when I read them. And I was thinking about this lovely young woman with her whole life ahead of her. It's such a waste of life, of a wonderful soul's expression here. And as somebody wrote on the sign by the canal as I was going for my jog, She represents all of us. The only difference is I got home safe. She didn't. You got home safe. Somebody else didn't. I'm really happy that this has caused a national debate, discussion, conversation, maybe even abroad. I don't know. I can only speak from the Irish perspective. We are now talking about this imbalance of power between men and women. And this is the yin and yang conflict that humans have been experiencing for years, and there's no need for it. Unfortunately, women in this world are physically more vulnerable, and the cultures, the various cultures, do not empower women and do not allow us in many ways to feel safe in our culture. This is a cultural issue. This is not natural. This is why yesterday on my Telegram group I shared the video, how did our world become so patriarchal? How did our society become so patriarchal? Because that's the root. That is the root of this issue. It's a power thing. And as a victim of rape, I understand that it's a power thing. There's an imbalance. There's a lack of honor, of respect in the cultural beliefs and understandings between the yin and yang. Since I was a very young girl, I have felt a mission to empower the feminine. I do not see the feminine as higher than or more important than the masculine. I see that we need each other. We are one and the same, but we do express it differently. We do come here in different bodies. And men, by the nature of your anatomy, you are less vulnerable. Physically, you're less vulnerable. And I'll ask you, have you ever, like, if I was to put men and women into a group here and ask the men, how many hands up here when you've, in the last 24 hours have you felt physically vulnerable, threatened, in going into a dark car park, or going for a walk by the canal on your own, or walking home late in the evening, maybe it's got dark and you're walking home late on your own, or walking by a group of men, maybe there's a group, every time I walk by a group of men, or if I'm on my own and there's a man coming towards me and it's dark, I panic. My PTSD flares up. And that's from experience. And this has to end now. This has to stop. This cannot be brought into the fifth dimension. We are not taking that old 3D paradigm toxicity into this new world. It is not acceptable. And it will not be tolerated. And I really feel that with this powerful movement that's happening in the country, and I love that Mary Lou, the politician, said, don't be telling women to try to protect themselves and, not to live their lives fully because they might possibly, that's not women should not have to not go for a run on the canal in the middle of the day because it's not safe. That is not addressing the issue. That is actually supporting the people who murder, the people who rape. It's actually us having to bend ourselves backwards and jump through hoops and restrict our freedom so that the few people who have these really distorted ways of seeing the world and seeing women and have issues with feeling that women are a threat to them in some way, and they need to somehow physically overpower us in order to try and take our feminine power. That, you know, we can't be bending ourselves into an unnatural shape to support that. The culture has to shift. As Mary Lou said, women carry keys between our fingers when we're walking by a man at night in case he attacks us, so we can have some kind of defense. You know, many's a time, sometimes I've gotten a taxi. I've had to get a taxi on my own. Maybe I missed a bus late at night or something out when I've been out, and I don't feel safe in the taxi because I've heard of numerous stories of girls being brought down a dark road and being raped by a taxi man. And I'm not saying all taxi men, of course, the majority of taxi men and women are good people, but unfortunately that does happen. And I'd actually feel my PTSD in the back of the taxi, and I would ring someone, or I would pretend to be on my phone. How many times as a woman have you pretended to be on your phone just so you can pass by somebody or a situation where you do not feel safe? Everybody has a right to feel safe in this world. And my channel here, my work with clients, is all about allowing you to feel empowered. I'm passionate about you not only feeling safe, but thriving as a person. But we can't thrive as people if our basic freedom is restricted and our basic safety is in question every day. This girl, this lady, Ashling Murphy, went for a run after her day's work as a teacher. And she's no longer with us now. And I'm just so happy to see people get upset about this. We should be upset about this. I sometimes feel that humans have become so desensitized. We hear these stories and we say, oh, that's terrible. What's for dinner? And everybody moves on. And as a sensitive, I'm not able to do that. And I don't want to do that because I need to feel this. And by feeling this and by exploring the issue at hand, I'm able to create a new reality, a new world where every person and all my sisters out there feel safe and feel free. You should not have to live a restricted existence, a restricted life experience because somebody had a porn addiction from the time they were 12 and developed an obsession with overpowering and trying to usurp the feminine energy. And that's what these crimes are about. That's the root of them. The pornification of our society, the desensitization to violence of any kind, to any human being, man or woman. These stories have become too familiar, too common, too everyday, and I don't support that. People need to get angry. Anger is your soul saying, no, this is not acceptable. I do not accept this. And it's saying your anger is you trying to take back your power, and it's you standing up for your power and having a voice. And I'm glad that we're having this conversation. I'm glad that I'm able to voice this with you, and thank you for listening. And thank you for sharing this moment with me on behalf of Ashling Murphy. May her soul be embraced by the angels and by Source God, wrapped around her in love and peace and calm. And I dedicate this message and this video and the love and the prayers go out to the Murphy family. They actually said that she was their angel. She was their rock. She was a really, really wonderful, good person. She taught children and she was a musician, and I'm sure many of you know about her. There's been an awful lot of, like, this story has really been humanized, and I'm so glad about that. It's not just another story, it's not just another number. The whole flesh and blood of this person is being recognized, and that's what's important. And there has been vigils all around the country of people gathering with candles to pray and to send light to the memory of Ashling Murphy. And I was very moved when I saw the message on the canal today. And there was also a big group of women who've been doing canal walks in her honour. So yes, let's culturally shift now. Let not this horrific tragedy be in vain. Let's shift. Let's move forward, and let's use this as fuel and passion to create a safe world for all the girls, for all the women, for all the men, for all the boys, for everybody. Teach the children about empowerment, and teach your young boys that the pornification of their consciousness is toxic, it's dangerous, and it's lethal. Women are not objects. We're not pets. We're not mascots. We are not sexual things to be used and abused. We are equal to you. We are flesh and blood. We have feelings and emotions and lives, and we're part of communities. We need to keep this equality clear in young people's minds. I've had a lot of young men come to me with porn addiction and sexual obsessions that are totally perverted and twisted. And I've seen the damage it does to young girls and young women. We need to talk about this. We need to address it. And we need to get back to a more natural, loving, healthy experience of the yin yang, of how we sexually relate to each other and how we see each other as human beings, as spiritual beings. We need to have a holistic approach to this now. So my focus is on freedom. My focus is on liberation, healthy and safety for every human being. And that's my prayer. That nobody is restricted, that where you go, you are safe in the world. Not just emotionally, spiritually, but physically, you're safe. That is my prayer for you, and that is my prayer for every single earthling here. And if we all send out that intention and that prayer, and if we all say a prayer to Ashling Murphy, to her soul, and we focus on where this movement can shift us now in a more fifth dimensional manner as we move forward, we can see the changes that need to happen now. Thank you so much for your time. As I said, my prayers, my blessings go to the Murphy family. Thank you. Goodbye.